all you spring daffodils. This is Never Seen It. My name is Trent. I'm sitting here with Betsy.
I'm a tulip.
We are here to end the May edition of our program, I guess, with the final movie of Big Movie May 1970s edition. Betsy, we're going to be covering a movie that neither of us have seen. And of course, because we covered a Robert De Niro movie, it would be, kind of weird for us to not cover an Al Pacino movie from the 1970s.
It would be extremely weird, so I'm glad we've decided to include him.
Yeah, and the movie we're covering is Dog Day Afternoon. Like I said, Betsy, we haven't seen this movie. And before we actually decided to cover this movie, I couldn't have told you what the movie was about, who's in the movie, or even that it was a movie.
You didn't know this movie existed?
I know the name, Dog Day Afternoon. I know that it is referring to something in media. If it's a book, if it's a TV show, if it's a movie, I honestly don't know.
Wow.
Before we decided to do it, I didn't know for sure that it was a movie.
You are much more sheltered on this one than I realized.
Very much so. So why don't you get us started, Betsy? Because I got nothing.
So Dog Day Afternoon, this is from 1975, starring Al Pacino. The other person I know who is in this movie, I am blanking on the actor's name, but it's the same guy I pointed out to you when we watched The Conversation, where he only made 5 movies.
Oh, that guy, who was also in one of the Godfather movies.
He was in 2 of them. He was in 1 and 2.
Okay.
He was in this, he was in The Conversation, and he was in one other movie, all like bangers across the board. And then he died. I have to look up his name. I will do that before we actually come back to talk about this.
And of course, in the discussion that we've been doing over the past, few months, we're going to be making an appearance on the Revisionist Almanac podcast, where we're covering all of the 1976 movies that were nominated for Best Picture. We watched a whole lot of movies from there, and because of that discussion, I know now that this movie, Dog Day Afternoon, was directed by Sidney Lumet,
who also directed Network the following year, plus a lot of other movies that you've definitely heard of.
This guy was on a fucking streak, man.
He was busy in the 70s, to say the least.
Yeah. What else do you know about the movie, Betsy?
I know it's a heist movie.
It's a bank robbery.
It is a bank robbery. It's a holdup. It's kind of a standoff situation.
Yeah.
This is the movie where he yells Attica a bunch of times.
Okay.
If you've ever heard somebody screaming, Attica, Attica, that's from this movie. The other thing I know about this is I think if I understand his reasons for robbing this bank, it is a very progressive reason that you are not going to be expecting.
Okay. Is it just like a weird anti-capitalist thing?
No.
Okay.
No, for 1975, I don't think you are prepared for what his reason is if I am remembering what I've heard about this movie correctly.
Awesome. Something to talk about later, I guess.
Yes. But as far as the flow of the movie, how this all goes down, what's going on here, if there's anybody else I recognize in the movie, I don't really know that much about Dog Day Afternoon.
I know that it is a bank robbery that goes wrong, and I believe we spend the vast majority of the movie in the bank.
Yeah, it's a confined space kind of a movie.
Unlike a lot of other bank robbery movies or just heist movies in general, where they're concentrating on the plan and figuring out who's going to do it, and
you're seeing the cops
getting
on
in
one
there.
side.
Yeah, and in reality, the heist itself is only like 5 minutes out of the movie, but I think this one, everybody's in that bank the entirety of the way. So, all right, let's go and watch Dog Day Afternoon. We will be right back. And that was Dog Day Afternoon, right at the kind of the beginning of summer. Betsy, it's going to start getting hot around here. What did you think of this hot one? I don't know.
You know, it never even really occurred to me that's why it's called Dog Day Afternoon.
The dog days of summer.
It's because it's August. It's fucking hot.
Yeah.
They are sweaty in this movie.
Oh my God, everybody's so sweaty.
This movie is really, really good, and I understand the reputation that it has. But it also made me decidedly sad because from the second the movie starts, from the time it begins all the way to the end, they are building such empathy around Sonny. Everybody is on his side. Like the people in there that he's holding hostage to some extent, the people in the crowds watching this unfold certainly
Cheering him
are
on.
cheering him on, and they boo the cops, Even the cops to some extent. Like the FBI guy says, we'll take care of Sal. And they're gonna keep him alive, but take care of Sal. Like it's this weird thing where everybody seems to understand. And that is so counter the way these kind of movies usually go.
And I would say the reason for that is because this is based on a true story.
And I don't know like how much of this is like really true to the events or adapted for movies. You know how everything that's based on a real story is
Of course.
usually it's a very broad definition.
Of course, but this thing really happened.
It did really happen. And as I alluded to in the introduction, there is kind of a turn in this movie that you weren't really expecting. And it was what
Not
I
at
was thinking.
all.
But it's based in reality, meaning that this is an element of these people's lives. And this is from 50 years ago at a
Yeah.
time that, one, we weren't making movies about openly gay people. This is also not a time in America that people were loud and proud. We were still at that beginning stages of people being out.
Yes, and this also being in New York, a city famous for being extremely progressive very early. Still, this movie being a nationwide release is, I think the way they present it in the movie just, it eases you into it because clearly there's something going on here that isn't readily apparent, and it wouldn't be getting the buzz maybe back in 1975 when this came out. They wait until about, 2/3 of the way in to really lay it all out there for you. And by the end, you're just kind of thinking, well, okay, this is just what he's going through. But I'm going to tell you right now, Betsy, as long as I got the floor here, this is an all-timer for me. I was loving this fucking movie, and especially Al Pacino in this thing.
This is a very different role from what I've seen Al Pacino do. Now, first of all, it's very early in his career, so I'm not used to him. I'm used to old, gruff Al Pacino.
Of course.
Young, high-pitched voice Al Pacino is very weird to me. But you can also kind of tell he's doing something a little different. Like the thing with the high voice, I don't think it's just that he's young and hasn't smoked so many cigarettes.
Of course, yes.
I think he is doing something with his voice for the character. I think it's a character choice to some extent. But when he gets like riled up, you expect him to go like heavy Pacino.
Full Al Pacino mode. Yeah.
No, he is locked in. He is locked into this character.
There's maybe only one moment here. I think it's in the second half of the movie. He's behind the desk and he's looking a little crazed and sounding a little crazed. That's the only moment where I can really hear the real Al Pacino coming out, at least the Al Pacino that I know. But the only explanation I can give for his kind of higher register is, yes, it is him as a younger man. It is also him maybe trying to put that on, but also the way the recording equipment just was in the 1970s,
True.
it just wasn't as good.
The audio is going to be different.
That's just how it got recorded.
But it is a different character than I've seen from him.
100%. And again, we're doing this 1970s edition of Big Movie May. We just watched Taxi Driver at the beginning of the month. And De Niro in that movie is playing a character that I had never seen him do before. Same thing in Dog Day Afternoon with Pacino. These guys were allowed in their earlier careers to do something that challenged them, and they weren't typecast into being the Al Pacino type or the De Niro type.
No, there is much more empathy and sensitivity to Al Pacino in this particular role
Dude cries at the end.
than I am used to. Yeah, it's a really different experience for me seeing this performance because I've seen plenty. You can go back through our episodes. We have done a ton of Pacino. I think he's number one for most appearances in this show. This is like the 8th or 9th time
you're right.
we have watched a Pacino movie. And most of them are older, gruff Al Pacino, tough guy Al Pacino. We did Scarface, which is not that many years after this
We
one.
also did Geely.
We did. But think about that jump in time from here, 1975, to Scarface, which is only like 5 years later.
Right.
It is a drastically different Al Pacino.
And how much his star power had grown in those 5 years. One thing that I read in the trivia here was he was apprehensive about taking this role. Number one, because he was literally coming right off of Godfather Part 2. And he had initially said no, but then he found out that they were going to go and talk to Dustin Hoffman instead. And in his mind, that is his chief rival
at the
time in acting. So he said, no, fuck that. I'm going to take this away from my chief rival in acting.
Well, maybe if he hadn't, then he would have ended up in Marathon Man.
I don't know if I could see Al Pacino running down the streets, running a fucking marathon all that time, but I don't know. I don't know how athletic he was back in the day. But again, I'm going back to here. I really, really, really did not know anything about this movie. I had not seen any trailers. None whatsoever.
Yeah, we didn't do that for this movie.
No. I knew it was going to be a bank robbery that went badly. Now, I've seen other movies where there are bank robberies. I see other movies where there's a heist. So, of course, I'm filling in the gaps about, okay, these are the beats of the heist movies I've seen in the past and other bank robbery movies. Maybe there's going to be some iconic things from this movie that other bank robbery scenes have taken, and this is why it's iconic. It's not that at all.
No, this is a real standalone. I don't know of other movies that capture this kind of a mood quite the way this one does in this situation.
Yeah, it is a couple of fucking boobs who come in there and think that they're just gonna take the money and run and it's gonna be okay. Somehow they get access to these guns, and throughout the course of the movie, you just realize these are just people. They're kind of desperate people in their own way. They're not to the point where they're like destitute and on the fucking street. No, they have the pressures of life and family and the shame of being a gay man in the 1970s.
Like you're living this double life where you have a wife and kids, but then you also have a wife who is a man who is also trans.
Right.
You know, that is really hard to convey to an audience in 75 because it's, you know, we would just say that is a trans woman now.
Sure.
But in 75, how do you explain Leon to a modern audience?
Exactly.
There's a lot you have to get out here.
Which is why I think I need to give a whole lot of credit here to the director as well, because he is lingering on some of these scenes, not just the shots, but the scenes themselves. You're allowed to kind of sit in this and consider what it is that this cop is talking to Leon about. Because I think the cop is also very curious. He's trying to get information out of Leon about Sonny in the bank, but at the same time, he's trying to get information about maybe his mindset. Is he a real violent person? And Leon says, yeah, he came after me. He attacked me.
For the last 6 months, I've been trying to get away from this guy.
Yeah, I tried to kill myself as a result of the abuse that I was taking at his hand. So you look at the situation that he's in currently, Leon is still willing to really help out with this, but only to a point.
And the way they handle this in the movie, like this entire plot point could have been really done in an over-the-top, like sensational kind of way. Like, oh, it's the 70s, and isn't this like really a wild concept that we're putting in the movies? Like people would absolutely sensationalize this. But you're right. The Charles Durning character, the cop, he is not interested in the fact that they've just brought in this man who says he is his wife.
Yeah.
He doesn't linger on that. He goes right to work and says, tell me about the guy I am trying to talk to.
Yeah, he's not there for the dirty details.
No, we're just going to get to the point. Like, describe to me Sonny, describe your relationship with Sonny. And, this guy, Leon, they're going through a lot right now. Leon is
Totally.
having a time. And even though, there are those moments, you can tell there's the cops in the room that are laughing. And there's people in the crowd that are laughing. And there's moments of the people reacting the way you kind of expect.
The people in the peanut gallery
Yeah.
who, there's some snickering here and there from the fucking assholes in the back who just think, oh, this is nothing. And this is just this guy is easy. He'll break easy. We'll get this done by noon or whatever.
Or throwing out all the names and the things that you think about in 1975 when you're the big macho man and they're the homosexuals.
Right.
They don't go down that road. Most of the people are so empathetic to both Leon and Sonny and everybody else around them. And it's just so unusual for a movie from 1975. That's the thing I keep coming back to.
And on that same vein, when it kind of comes out that Sonny is a gay man that is married to a man, and it was whatever the ceremony was, I think right after that, the ladies who are the hostages in there start to become a lot more, I don't know, casual around it. They start asking them more questions about what's going on. Nobody is dismissive of him at all, which I think just goes to the idea that, hey, women are a lot more accepting of homosexual men, even in the 70s.
But at this point, they're already aware that he is not mistreating them. He's trying to do the right thing. He is trying to get them food. He's, getting the people out of there who are not doing well.
Mm-hmm.
They're already kind of on his side. And then this piece of information doesn't really change anything for them. I feel like they actually see, when the cops try to attack the guy as he's being let out. He's a hostage. He's a hostage.
Yeah.
What the hell is wrong with you? He's a hostage. All of those little moments that keep making the hostages get on Sonny's side.
And all of these bank tellers, they see what buffoons they are when they're when little Al Pacino has to jump up to try to spray paint the cameras. He can't reach the cameras. When they see that, they know that they're not fucking hardened criminals who are in there to try to hurt people.
Trent, they set up immediately in this movie that these guys are bad at this. First of all, they go in there and he's got his long flower box with the gun inside. And when he whips the gun out, he doesn't take the ribbons off. So the box is hanging off the gun and he's trying to shake it off and look like a tough guy.
This whole opening sequence here, by the way, we get right into it.
Oh yeah, it just starts. And then immediately after they take control of this space, the third guy with them says, I can't do it. I got to go home now.
I can't do it, Sonny.
How am I going to get home? Leave the car. We need it. How am I going to get home? Take the subway.
How awkward all of this is here. As the kids say, is extremely cringe. I fucking loved every second of this. And this movie sold me so early on with how awkward it is and how inept these criminals are. And the other favorite thing is just when Sonny and Sal get together and have their little powwows and just talk about it. They did not plan this one bit. And even the other bank tellers are giving them shit. You guys didn't plan this. You don't know where the back door is. You don't know where everything is here.
And he seemed to have some kind of information because he said they were supposed to be dropping off money, but he gets there and all the money is fucking gone.
He had a contact who told him, oh yeah, the armored car comes by at this time.
The drop off is this day at this time.
Right, but no, it is the opposite of what he thought. And at the same time, he also reveals here that he used to work in a bank, so he knows all the little tricks.
No alarms, put the dollar bills here. Never empty the tills.
Yeah, never empty the till. I never knew that.
I've heard this somewhere. They say leave the bottom one because once it's empty, that's what triggers
that's
the
a
alarms.
sensor in there. Yeah. I never heard of that.
But just right out the gate, they're really bad at this. The women here going, we have to go to the bathroom. I get a nervous bladder. Like, you have to
Right.
let me pee.
Right.
And it just quickly turns into a hostage situation. Now, this is the thing that I was a little unclear about, and so were you, and I don't even know if it matters. How did the cops know? Like, how
I
did we
don't
get there?
know.
Was there something we missed? No one ever explains
No.
why the cops show up and they're across the street. Or was it just that insurance guy? He smelled something funny when there's a
Yeah.
fire.
Or
Literally, he's just like, I'm going to call the cops because this is weird.
yeah, that's a really good question because I kind of forgot about it when we got about halfway through. I forgot that
You stopped worrying about
never
it.
got an answer to why did the cops just suddenly show up, and then there are hundreds and hundreds of cops.
Clearly, it was a slow day in New York because every fucking cop in the city is like, I'm going to go. 5,000 cops surround these two guys in a bank. Like,
Same thing with all of the crowd that just shows up too.
It's the dog days of summer. They have nothing else to do. It's hot.
too
It's
hot.
boring.
It's too hot in my apartment. I need to get the fuck out of here. I don't have air conditioning, so let's all hang out on the street corner.
Did you get the sense in this movie that there's kind of we just finished watching all of these movies from 1976, and we constantly were talking about the mood of the nation. Like, these two guys in this movie are Vietnam vets.
Yep.
So clearly they've got something that's kind of messing them up. They say something about having a job. Like, it's hard to get a job because you have to be a part of a union, or you have to do this, or the jobs you can get, they're just shit and they don't pay you very much.
Yeah, the short version is you're not getting a whole lot of support coming out of the army.
They show the city of New York in the opening credits.
I love that opening scene.
And it's, again, well before they cleaned up the city. It is a shithole. Is this another anti-establishment fuck you kind of a movie?
Yes.
Because when
Yes,
the
the answer is
crowds,
yes.
when the crowds are just like, yeah, he's screaming about Attica, which I had to look up. It was a prison riot.
Yeah.
Where the cops just killed everybody. They killed the prisoners. They killed the hostages.
Yep.
It was something recent enough in memory that people in New York knew what this was. So when
Absolutely.
Sonny starts screaming that, the crowd immediately gets on his side because they're like, yeah, don't shoot these people. Don't shoot the hostages. We already went through this once. And once again, 50 years later, people and cops, that's the whole thing too.
Well, I mean, as long as we're here, I read that actual police precincts use this movie as training. As
what
number
not
one,
to do?
what not to do with a hostage situation, and what not to do with a whole bunch of crowds. Because again, you're letting all these people get really, really rowdy. One of the guys got through the barricade and tackled the guy.
Well, boyfriend, one of the
Yeah,
boyfriends
one
of the women inside.
Yeah, totally. But they use this movie to demonstrate, okay, this is a really strange situation, but it really happened. And for the most part, I'm sure a lot of the movements and the way everything was kind of set up in the bank is very similar. This could happen in real life because it did happen in real life.
But as far as the cops are concerned, here's what not to do.
Here's what's not to
Don't
do,
go to
yeah.
the back door. If your boss says go to the roof, go to the roof. Don't hang out on the fire escape.
Seriously.
Everybody has their fucking weapons unholstered the whole time. Dude, you're in the street. Nothing is happening. Every time he comes out, he doesn't have a weapon and he's waving a white flag.
Totally.
And 1,000 cops pull their guns on him. Like, it's totally insane, the level of response these cops have.
And the fact that they do not listen to this boss man. They keep taking their guns out and pointing it at Sonny everywhere. Now, I understand that maybe the snipers are not going to train their rifles off of him, but the guys just with their fucking with their handguns, their pistols, whatever. What are you gonna do? Are you literally all going to open fire at the same time? I'm nodding my head. Yes, they would. Okay, this movie was giving me so many flashbacks to one of my favorite, very short movies of all time. The movie Phone Booth came out in like 2003, thereabouts. A very early Colin Farrell movie that has surprisingly a lot of star power in the movie. I highly recommend, if you like Dog Day Afternoon, go seek out Phone Booth. It's really good.
It's one guy who you as an audience member are really empathetic to, even though he's maybe made some mistakes. He's a flawed human being.
Yes.
But then the tensions rise very quickly and everything escalates out of control.
Yeah. You all, like you said, you have empathy for the guy, and you know that whatever his flaws, whatever, he doesn't deserve to die. Same thing in this movie. So many guns are pointed at him the entire time. And at any time somebody slips a trigger, one bullet goes off, they all go off.
Well, just look at what happens in Dog Day Afternoon. Sonny thinks somebody is coming in through the back door and he fires his weapon. And there is this sequence of about 40 really quick edits, really quick cuts where we see the hostages panic and Sonny panics and the cops panic and the crowds panic.
Total chaos. And it is one of the most impressive sequences of cutting when the rest of the movie is all really, really long takes.
And it's really just like sweeping camera motions. And
it becomes an action movie that is a heist movie. That's not what this movie is, but we just get that really, really small taste of what it could have been.
What could happen if this went badly very quickly?
Wow, that was so great.
Yeah, it would be a hair trigger change, just demonstrated in that one scene alone.
And really, when you think about it, there's only 2 gunshots in the entire movie.
Yeah.
That one and the one at the end. But Betsy, we need to take a break here because I need to catch my breath. Let's hear a word from our sponsor. We will be right back. You know, recently I've been bored and feeling out of sorts. My normal podcasts just weren't cutting it anymore, so I talked to my doctor, and she recommended patreon.com/neverseenitpod, and now I feel better than ever.
Patreon.com/neverseenitpod is a once-weekly subscription podcast used to create joy. Side effects may include a sense of euphoria, aching muscles from smiling, and a dependence on the host's addictive personalities. Do not take this podcast if you are allergic to fun, have a history of laughing until you pee, or are afraid of a good time.
Talk to your doctor about patreon.com/neverseenitpod today. You know, Betsy, I really didn't know what to expect with Dog Day Afternoon, but I think I'm most surprised at the fact that this movie is hilarious. Seriously, when I was looking up some info, just kind of scrolling through the IMDb page in general, the first little tag, the genre tag to this movie is dark comedy.
I was trying to figure out if you actually thought it was funny or you just saw that and assumed it was supposed to be and that was amplifying your laughter.
Oh no, this was fucking hilarious. The entire way through, up until we got to the very end when shit got real. No, I was laughing hysterically at this movie.
The first half of the movie, when we're demonstrating these guys are really amateurs, this is a ridiculous situation, they are making every possible fuck up you could make. There are definitely some humorous moments. And then there's a turn kind of in the middle where you're like, whoa, so this is why he is actually doing this.
Yeah.
And then it becomes the slippery slope of he's not getting out of this. How is this going to end? And it gets darker and darker as the movie continues.
Yeah.
Until at the end when, you know, they're taking out Sal and he's left alive and he's just reacting to what happened around him. But you're right at the beginning. It's weirdly funny. It makes me uncomfortable almost because I was like tonally ready for a very different kind of movie.
Sure. And maybe honestly, it is the fact that I wasn't expecting it that made me laugh even more. And honestly, it doesn't hurt that you have all of these fucking Brooklynites coming out of the woodwork. And I think my favorite one is the mother of his children, his other wife.
Where she's just like, how am I supposed to get a babysitter like to come down there to see you?
Yeah, there's a scene here where she's just kind of denying the fact that he would never do this. He wouldn't hurt a fly. What are you talking about? I can't go now. I can't go down there. I got these 2 kids over. And then when he finally gets her on the phone, He's yelling at her on the phone, and she's like, yeah, right there. That's what you do. I'm scared of you when you do that. And she just would not shut up, and he fucking hangs up on her. That was the funniest fucking shit.
What are you supposed to do? You are trying to explain yourself to this woman.
Yeah.
And she's not listening, and she's blaming you for the lack of communication. It's just like,
right.
Okay.
You're just hashing out your entire relationship over the phone.
That shot after he hangs up and he just puts his head in his hands.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck just happened?
One of the greatest shots in the entire movie.
You're right. There's weird humor in this movie like that.
It's all the character work. It's wow. There's even little scenes here where after they get their food and drinks, the head teller says, give me a cigarette. I want a cigarette. I don't even smoke. And then Sal finally pipes up and says, why do you want a cigarette if you don't smoke? I'm a Christian and you're poisoning the temple of your body. And I'm like, where the fuck is this coming from, dude?
We don't get to know Sal super well, but every time he opens his mouth, you learn some profound thing about him.
Everything is just a profound, just something coming out of his face.
Your body is a temple and you shouldn't, I don't want to get cancer. Also, I'm scared of planes. I've never been on one.
Yeah, and they have this fucking suicide pact between the two of them that I fully believe that Sal is prepared to follow through on that, but Sonny not so much.
Yeah, Sonny said it at the time, but he figured it wouldn't come up because they were going to get the money and get out.
Right. He said it was going to be a half-hour job, in and out, we're done.
It's the end of the business day. There's only like 8 people in here.
Yeah.
We're going to get the money. We'll get out. Peace. But you're right. I think Sal maybe has a lot more deep-seated things coming from Vietnam.
Totally. And he even said, I'm not going to go back to prison. What the fuck is that all about?
Yeah, they've had prison time. They've been in the military. They're unpacking some things together. And the fact that he agreed to go and rob a bank says something about his level of desperation.
I guess.
Which I guess is why the FBI dude, when he is assessing the situation, says, okay, that's the guy who's the problem.
Yeah.
Like, you feel empathy for Sal, too. Like, he's just kind of a guy who is there. He's like, wrong place, wrong time. But the problem is, you're right. He is so committed to the bit at this point that he's going to stop at nothing. If it comes down to it, he's the one that's going to go all the way.
And I think early on when the cop is trying to identify the guys in the bank, the actual robbers, he says, is Sal short for this? And as soon as he says that, he probably has some kind of resources telling him that guy is fucking unhinged. You need to keep your eye on him. The other guy, he's a pussycat. No big deal. He's not going to hurt a fly.
He's never done anything bad in his life.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we can talk to Sonny.
But this other guy, that's your hair trigger right there. And the director here is just slowly giving you a little bit of information because these cops and the FBI guys, they know, and they're talking directly to Sal. Sonny's got things taken care of. He's fine. And honestly, Sonny is the one protecting all the hostages by telling Sal, don't do shit.
And Sal's the one that's like, oh, when he gets tackled, when Sonny gets tackled,
he
I want to
goes
see
up-
him. I want to see him. I want to see him, or I'm
Right.
going to start shooting hostages.
Right. Like he's following orders from Sonny.
But this, of course, is John Cazale, who I forgot his name. Sorry. I should have known that because, as I said, he made 5 movies and died tragically young. But he made 2 Godfather movies leading into this one.
Yep.
He made this, he made The Conversation, and then he made, I think, The Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
And that's it. 5.
Those are his 5 credits.
5 credits. The most insane career of any single actor. And he's in all of those movies, and they're going to live on for fucking
and
ever.
Pacino was the guy who said, basically, if you want me, I need this guy on my
Bring
team.
him
He
with.
needs to be my co-star here. And apparently in real life, the Sal character was actually just 18 years old.
Oh, God.
So they were looking for somebody much, much younger, but in order to satisfy Pacino's request, they changed the script to have it be this other kind of guy, which maybe makes more sense in the fact that they didn't really flesh out the character all that much. They just kind of made it up as they went. And really, most of the dialogue, the stuff I've been reading here, most of the dialogue was just improvised on the day.
which adds to the mood of the piece when everybody is just kind of rolling with the scene.
It's just kind of frantic and they just keep on rolling with it. Yeah. Including that scene between Leon and Sonny, the conversation going back and forth completely off the cuff. It was not scripted whatsoever.
Just get on the phone and what would you say to this person in this time?
Yeah, have it out with your wife.
And this is the only other movie I think I've ever seen Chris Sarandon in, apart from The Princess Bride. Like, genuinely, he plays Humperdinck in that movie, and this predates it by a decade plus.
Yeah, that dude was working a long, long time. I think he started in the 50s.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And he looks very, very young and a little wild in this movie because they checked him out of the hospital. His character intentionally took a bunch of pills, then got committed to a hospital to get away from Sonny. That was how desperate he was.
Yeah.
And this is the first time he's willing to talk to Sonny. And he is just kind of coming off of the medications that they've been giving him in the hospital.
Yeah.
And he looks confused about where he is. And he is overwhelmed with the situation.
They have to give him smelling salts to get him to wake up.
Also, it's his fucking birthday. Did you catch that?
No.
Yeah, when he shows up, when Leon gets there and Sonny sees him, he says, Leon, happy birthday.
What? I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he's screaming happy birthday right before he faints.
Oh my God. No, I completely lost that. No, I think I was more just surprised at what I was being presented with.
That
Just
turn
the
in the
fact,
movie, yeah.
Just the fact that I need to talk to my wife. I need to talk to my wife. We've already been introduced to his wife in these other scenes, but this is his other wife. And it slowly just comes over you that, oh, that's what this is all about.
And he's trying to do right by Leon. And, you know, he's living this double life and he's got all this baggage that comes with it. And there is, in the 70s, a particular specific shame that this guy would be feeling because he has a wife and kids and he has an entire second marriage that isn't really legal. Like, the person who married them got defrocked, you know? This is the level of commitment that he's trying to make.
He's doing the thing that you're supposed to do. To be a normal-ass man, when you come back from war, you get married, you have a bunch of kids. But he's living the lie. But because he made the commitment, I don't know if this has anything to do with this whole Catholic thing that he is bringing up a couple of times here. But he made the commitment to this woman. He's got a couple of kids, but then he also has this other part of him.
And Leon has spent time talking to a therapist, unpacking his own things to realize that he is a woman trapped in the body of a man. And that is how they use it in the movie. Obviously, now we use pronouns a little bit more differently, so apologies if I'm misplacing pronouns as it should be applied.
We're just repeating what the movie is saying. This is the 1970s and whatnot. We are supporters.
So Sonny is trying to help with that situation. He wants to get the money for the operation. That is the motivation here, is I'm trying to do right by Leon. And even though Leon kind of doesn't want it, Leon does not want you to get this money for me.
Yeah,
I want to go away from you. I will figure out my own way.
Yeah, Leon's going through it by their lonesome. So it's not really a thing that Sonny has to be involved in anymore. And Sonny is giving him an out, saying, you can come with me. I got this plane coming up. I got it all figured out. You can come with, or you don't have to, or we can say goodbye. He's giving him an out, and Leon says, you know what? I'm going to take the out. And you know what? Good for Leon.
At which point, why is Sonny doing any of this? That's the whole crux of the movie, is you're doing this for Leon, and Leon wants nothing to do with you. So that's why I'm saying there is such a sadness to this movie.
Yeah.
There are so many layers to it, and I just feel very deeply for Sonny is in a spot.
And Sonny is feeling so many things here. And I think the overarching thing that he's feeling is that I don't belong anywhere. I can't be with Leon in the way that I want to be, because number one, it is the 1970s. I can't be out and proud, even in New York City.
Even though we're at the beginnings of that, it's not enough yet.
But at the same time, he has this other family that he also can't be satisfied with. That's the scene where he's putting his hands on his head and he starts to have it all break apart around him. So what's left? He needs to get to the end game here, and the end game is getting everybody on this fucking bus, getting to the airport, getting on the plane, being very, very concerned about, is there food on the plane? Oh yeah, there's hamburgers on the plane.
It doesn't matter what they say at that point, because I figured, how is it going to end? At a certain point, you wonder, how does this end?
Yeah.
And you assume it's going to be the blaze of glory. Like, he's going to go, like, either he's going to snap and start shooting everybody, or they're just going to gun him down. I really didn't think it would end this way, though, where they take out Sal and they just arrest Sonny. All the hostages are okay. They get out. Sonny gets arrested. End of movie. You know, everybody kind of just goes their separate ways.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't getting on a plane. That's not how these movies work. That's not how
gonna
real
let
life works.
Yeah, they're not going to let you do that because you are committing very, very many federal crimes in broad daylight. They know who you are. They know where you're going. You're not going to get away. But that is a tactic that the cops use in order to get people who are kind of unhinged on their side.
It also calms you down a little bit because
you're getting what you're asking for.
Because you get what you're asking for. They get another hostage because every time you get, okay, we got the car, give us a hostage.
Yep.
Okay, you got the plane, give us a hostage. And you're feeling more relaxed and you're not in that confined space. They literally have you surrounded in a vehicle.
Oh my God, yes.
This is going to end badly. Lance Henriksen driving this vehicle is going to stop this.
Yeah, and I knew right away, as soon as they started addressing Sal directly, I knew they had something cooked up here.
Yes, Sal, point that gun to the ceiling, buddy.
Yeah.
Point that gun up.
Hey, man, I don't want to have an accident here. Why don't you point that gun up? Because it's going to be a bumpy ride to JFK, which we would know. We were just there. We drove there.
We did just drive there.
Oh, man. Do you think here that everything surrounding, like when they finally get to the airport, they have the very slowly turning jet on the tarmac there. Everybody's still stuck in the car, and the audio, like the sounds coming out of the jet, are very, very high pitched and whiny, and these people are probably on their final nerve, but all the cops are still very sharp. Do you think that they were doing that intentionally in order to get them distracted and off their game? In order for the cop outside of the window to grab the gun in the front seat and then the driver take this secret gun out of the door and then turn back and shoot Sal.
I'm sure it's part of it. And it just added that emotional punch because like they let Maria out of the car and she says, Sal, I know this is your first time on a plane.
Yeah.
So don't be scared, and hands him her rosary. Like it's this moment of humanity. Like, I know you're afraid. Don't be afraid. And then he dies. Like, it happens so fast.
Yeah, everybody in that car knows that Sal is kind of on his last nerve because they saw him at the bank the entire day. This is a 12-hour endurance test for everybody. So if anybody knows that Sal is needing some help, it's all of these hostages. But at the same time, the cops all know too. We don't really get a whole lot of details about Sal, but the cops know.
But the fact that I'm so sad that he dies at the end, you know, the fact that I feel that way about it.
I started to get a little emotional there when he's being rolled away on the gurney. And Al Pacino, again, another really long shot here, really long take of just Al Pacino putting his head down and crying, then putting his head back up and you see the tears. Then he puts his head back down again.
And he's just looking around.
It's just, what's left for me? It's such a great acting moment here as well for him. And I cannot say enough good things about Al Pacino's performance in this movie. It is one of his 4 Best Actor nominations in a row.
That is wild. And I haven't seen most of them. Like, truly.
Serpico, Godfather 2, this, and what?
Is it the other Godfather movie? That's probably
Yeah,
it.
it's both of the Godfather movies. Yeah. So yeah, just to put a bow on this, I didn't expect it to be such an Al Pacino show, but he carries this entire movie. The rest of the people here, I think the cop outside,
Charles Durning,
yeah,
returning champ from The Sting. I didn't know we were
Yeah.
going to do 2 movies with him in a row. That's
No,
a
not at all.
surprise.
And you know what? That happens a lot in our decade series.
It does.
But obviously, the thing that we know him from the most is the Oh Brother, Where Art Thou movie, where he's playing the governor.
You know the other movie I know him from?
What's that?
The Muppet movie.
Of course you would.
He is in the Muppet movie from 1980 or whatever year that came out, 79, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of other people in this movie, this is such a weird little tidbit, but I have to share it because there is a scene where his mother shows up
Yeah.
and she's just like, I love you. You're such a good boy. You know, like any New York mom would
You
be.
used to be so beautiful.
You used to be such a beautiful boy. Okay, so I was looking at her and I'm like, she reminds me of somebody. Why do I know her? I've seen her somewhere. I looked her up. She played the grandma in the 1991 Addams Family movie. Okay. This in itself is not that unusual. What makes it unusual is that in the Addams Family Values, so the second Addams Family movie, they recast the grandma. Do you know who plays grandma in the second one?
No.
Carol Kane, who is also in Dog Day Afternoon. Both grandmas from the Addams Family are in this movie, and that blew my mind.
I kind of figured that's who it was going to be. That's where you were going with that. But no, I had no idea. Because even the Addams Family Values was only in the 90s. Carol Kane wasn't that old.
No, Carol Kane's also in the Muppet movie. Anyway.
Another little tidbit that I read was that the FBI guy who shows up, not the driver, that's Lance Hendrickson. The other guy, his last name is Broderick.
As in
The father of Matthew Broderick,
I had
who
no
was
idea.
12 years old and brought onto the set of Dog Day Afternoon specifically to meet Al Pacino.
I did not know his father was an actor, and I love that. I love the idea of tiny Matthew Broderick meeting Al Pacino.
And you know, coming from, hey, his father was an actor, he died fairly young. He died in the 80s.
So not long after this, really.
Yeah.
So he probably didn't even get to see Matthew Broderick become a star.
Definitely
Or
not.
barely did.
But yeah, I really like that little anecdote about little Matthew Broderick being on the set of Dog Day Afternoon, seeing Al Pacino in his most disheveled state that you could possibly imagine.
Sleepless, food starved.
Truly, Al Pacino kind of starved himself while he was on set. He only slept for a few hours a night. He took cold showers just to keep up appearances, literally his appearance, throughout the entirety of the movie. And as I said before, he was just coming off of the second Godfather movie. He is exhausted from that entire experience. So coming on to this one where he is, again, very much method acting in this role the entire way, after he's done with Dog Day Afternoon, he said, fuck this shit. I'm taking a break from screen acting. I'm going back to the stage.
Well, think about that. If you are getting nominated year after year after year, yes, it's great for your career, but also it is a grueling time in your life.
You gotta put in the fucking work.
You are going overseas to film stuff for The Godfather. You're coming back to America to do The Godfather. Then you got to do it again for Godfather Part 2. I don't know where they made Serpico, but I'm sure it was having to travel around for that too. And you got to do all the press tours, and you're at the awards circuit. And that's 4 years in a row. And then this is the one you cap it off with.
Non-fucking stop.
You would be fucking exhausted.
Oh my God.
Speaking
Al
of
fucking Pacino.
Speaking of people who were working really hard, we should probably touch on the fact that Sidney Lumet did this movie. We'd said it in the introduction.
Yep.
But yeah, this movie followed by Network. Wow. Like truly, wow.
Betsy says, wow. Speaking of wow, I think we're about done with this episode, Betsy. Did you have any other little tidbits here that you need to point out?
No, I have said my piece, but I think you have a few more thoughts.
I do. One of my favorite acting moments here, it's between Al Pacino and the cop. It's right after the gun goes off and all hell breaks loose. they're calling at Al to come back out again, and it's Sonny and the cop, Sonny and the cop, Sonny the cop, Sonny the cop, yelling at each other back and forth, and the cop is trying to control everybody, trying to get his cops in order, trying to get all the crowd back because everybody's freaking out. It's extremely tense. And they're just yelling at each other like crazy.
And Pacino's like, what the fuck's going on back there? I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's
if
going
you don't
on.
know what's going on, then you're bullshitting me.
Why am I talking to you if you're not even in charge of your own men?
Well, and at a certain point, he's not in charge anymore. When the FBI shows up, Charles Durning disappears completely, and you don't see him for the last half of the movie.
Pretty much. I love how he insisted on paying for the pizzas. That was my favorite thing.
No, I'm good for it. It's a pride thing.
Yeah, and also he's throwing all this money around and the crowd is cheering him on. And at one point, a whole group of gay guys comes in with a huge banner chanting out of the closet and into the street saying, "Go Sonny, we love Sonny."
That crowd is completely on his side.
Oh my God. And he is playing to the crowd too. He's hyping them up and yelling Attica over and over again, which, by the way, that was a completely ad-lib thing. He wasn't supposed to yell Attica.
But when you've got a crowd and you're improvising half of it and they're reacting to what you're doing, it's like doing theater. That part of this movie for him, I'm sure, was like doing a live show.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's just like, I'm feeding off their energy. I'm going to amp up the energy more.
You could tell totally that he is feeding off the energy. Oh my God. Oh, the last thing. I'm going to cut myself off here. I like that the guns just kind of become nothing. Like, that is a loaded weapon and you're twirling it around like it's a baton.
Or he keeps setting it down places.
Yeah, they're completely forgetting where the gun is and just leaving it everywhere. The hostages can just grab it and then shoot the guys.
That just shows you the level of trust in this room. Like, any one of those people could take control of this situation if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, he's training the woman, the teller, how to do the military, like, presentation of the gun where you have to spin it and kick it and hold it. And she's like, oh, that's where I keep getting stuck. Okay, I'll try it again.
You're holding a loaded weapon, lady.
This could go off any moment. Like, what the hell?
Yeah. And of course, the only reason why it keeps on going is because Sal is also sitting there with an automatic. So yeah, I think that in and of itself lends this movie the tenseness that you kind of need in a movie like this, but also you can have these silly moments when the chick is twirling around a loaded weapon around her arm or whatever. But wow. I say again, wow, I fucking love this movie. This is so great. And I said before, this might be one of the all-time greats that I have seen for this show. Certainly one of the all-time best performances I've seen from any actor whatsoever.
And as I said, we've watched a lot of Pacino on this show.
We really have.
So we have a lot to compare it to.
Again, like I said with the De Niro piece, I want to see more of their earlier work before they started being pigeonholed into playing the fucking gangster or the really yelly guy. I don't need that from my Pacino. I need stuff like this, where he's allowing himself to be this empathetic character.
To be flawed but multidimensional.
You are never being empathetic to an Al Pacino character again after this. In my opinion, from what I've seen, I've never had that feeling.
Or if you do, it's rare. It's very rare.
Or I haven't seen him.
Or you just haven't seen it, yeah.
Seriously. Okay, I am spent. I love this movie. I need to stop talking about it because it's time to go to bed, Betsy. But before we do, hey guys, did you know we have an email address where you can send your thoughts and questions? I'm going to start soliciting a lot more questions from you guys, not necessarily thoughts. Because as we've kind of mentioned here and there, we did a guest spot on the Revisionist Almanac podcast. It is coming out the first Friday in June, where we cover a bunch of 1976 movies for that Oscar year. And Betsy and I did a follow-up where a bunch of their listeners sent in questions about the movies, about the Oscar process, and just watching all these movies and covering it for their show. So I think going forward here, I really want to have more questions from you guys, whether they're about the movie that we're covering or just, hey, movies in general. Send us your questions to neverseenitpod@gmail.com. Of course, speaking of Taxi Driver, we got an email from Stephanie at the beginning of the month about Taxi Driver. She says, I have seen this once. I've never needed to again. I understand the acting is great. It is a really interesting character-driven story. However, it is so dark and hopeless. I do not need that in my life. The 1970s is also a blind spot for me. I just haven't really liked many 1970s movies and have a hard time wanting to sit down and watch them. Yeah, Stephanie, that's kind of why we're doing this and why we did the 1976 episode of Revisionist and why we chose the 1970s edition of Big Movie May. Because we have the same kind of attitude as you where, man, this is kind of depressing. These are dark movies, but as demonstrated by my reaction and Betsy's reaction to Dog Day Afternoon, it's maybe some of the best shit.
It could also be that as we've gotten older and realized, this is just sometimes how the world works, and we're getting more of a cynical streak, or accepting that sometimes it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
I'm not a cynic, but I am a realist at the very least.
But these movies are about a lot of reality. They're grounded in what was going on at the time. And the 70s were a dirty, dark decade for the United States of America.
Just true. And Stephanie is reacting to a question that I had asked in a previous episode. You had asked in response to an email for my daughter's reaction to live action Disney movies, like as opposed to the animated ones.
Like Lilo and Stitch that just opened a couple days ago.
Disney is doing a whole bunch of different live action remakes of their old animated stuff. Stephanie says, my daughter has seen all of the original movies prior to watching the live action ones. She prefers the CG/live action Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. She really likes the live-action Cinderella and says that she liked The Little Mermaid and Snow White, but hasn't asked to watch them a second time yet. But we watch the cartoon versions of all of the movies very often. She will be 6 in June and loves movies. We watched The Wizard of Oz when I took her to Wicked, and honestly, she loves The Wizard of Oz and watches it once a month at least.
Perfect. That was
Amazing.
My favorite movie at her age. I loved The Wizard of Oz when I was in kindergarten, first grade.
Great parenting, Stephanie. She ends with, we're deep in Star Wars at the moment because she sent this back on the 5th of May.
Oh, what would be going on then?
Yeah, love you guys from Superfan. Stephanie, well, we love you too, Stephanie. Thank you again for all of your emails you send. If you too would like to be a Superfan, email us neverseenitpod@gmail.com. In addition, you can go to patreon.com/neverseenitpod to get gobs and gobs of extra content from me and Betsy.
We've got a travelogue coming out next week.
Yeah.
I think it's next week. I don't know what day it is anymore.
Our Conversation Pit show is just Betsy and I talking about a topic. And boy, oh boy, do we have a big one coming up here. It's the Conversation Pit show comes out the first Friday of every month. It's an extra thing that we throw in on top of all the movie content that we do over there.
But you can hear all about our trip that we took to New York, New Jersey area.
Yeah, it's a really long one. I haven't even edited it yet, and the unedited version is over 2 hours. Seriously, what the fuck did we get ourselves into?
We took a long trip. There was a lot to talk about.
We did. So again, patreon.com/neverseenitpod. $5 a month gets you access to all of that content. I think by the time you hear this, it's close to 100 extra pieces of content. How can you lose? It's $5. Just go and check us out. It's awesome. But with that, Betsy, I think that is going to be the end of Big Movie May. Next month is going to be yet another series because we cannot help ourselves. What are we starting again in June?
It is time for our annual series. We do this one every single year, and it just has one small shift every year, and it's our Decade series. So we're going to be watching a movie starting in 1965, and then 75, 85, so on and so forth, up to present day.
Yeah, all the way up to present day.
And the first movie that we'll be covering is from 1965, a movie that I have seen many, many times and have wanted you to watch. We're doing a Western because we are going to be watching Cat Ballou.
A comedy Western, if I am understanding correctly. I'm very interested in seeing that one because when you look at 1965, we did The Sound of Music for our Patreon show. That would be the only other movie of any kind of significance from 65 that we would actually want to see.
Or we've already seen them all.
Right.
The big movies.
Yeah. So Cat Ballou is coming up next to start off our 4th annual Decade series. But until June, Betsy, this has been another episode of Never Seen It. My name is Trent.
My name is Betsy.
We'll catch you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.